It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invite. Yesterday, we have some demos upstairs, and yesterday I published a photo in LinkedIn, and then question came, okay, all this technology is great, but how to monetize it? So I would say it's not just, let's say, to monetize technology, it's also to put technology into the context of applications, right? And if you see developers and users are making use of the internet in general to build applications, right? So why they would need to understand about APIs, complex 3GPP systems, and so on. So in order to bridge, let's say, the gap, or in order to bring together, in terms of multimedia applications, let's say, the technologies developed in standards, and 3GPP is an example, and those developing applications, let's say, already today, right, for streaming, for immersive media, and so on, together, well, we decided to take some action, not just wait and see for the technology just to be appearing in the market by chance. So 5G-MAG is an industry association, a non-for-profit, and what we do is to foster collaboration between the media and the connectivity industries. We champion open standards, and our main role is to accelerate, let's say, the uptake of technologies, 3GPP as an example, into products, right? So we don't do a lot of research, we do more of the translation of standards into products and bring the standards into the hands of those that develop these products, applications, and services. So these are our, let's say, the members that are supporting our work. Membership is open to service providers, manufacturers, vendors, CDN providers, network operators. Let's say anybody that would like to see these technologies applied to meet the requirements of specific industries, in this case for multimedia applications. Topics that are on our scope, very high level. So for instance, media over IP and connected production, or what comes into non-public networks, video or media traffic management, uplink streaming. We have also content distribution and delivery, right, to move a little bit from OTT into something smarter, let's say, not just use the networks as best effort in terms of I send traffic over UPF and that's it, but more like how media applications can collaborate better with the network. And then we have also topics on media beyond 2D, that's very well aligned to some study items currently ongoing in 3GPP, in particular in SA4. And we have also applications for extended reality and immersive media, where also, let's say, all these architecture components, it was said, MEC, for instance, split rendering, and other topics may play a role. And let's say developers of this application need to be aware of these capabilities and how to integrate them into apps. How we work. In 5G-MAG, let's say we take care of two processes: pre-standardization work, which is to get market-driven use cases, right? Use cases that make sense from a commercial point of view from those that run these commercial services. Try to reach consensus on features and requirements towards standardization, but also, let's say, towards how these technology standards should be implemented, right? So by means of guidelines and so on. And try to reach also some sort of alignment towards SDOs, right? Instead of everybody going there with different work items that sometimes even overlap, well, if we can create some sort of consensus before consuming, for instance, time units in 3GPP, that may help the standardization process. And then we take, let's say, we have a lot of work on post-standards, which means once the standards are done, at least the specification is published for whatever release, what we do is to take the specifications that are relevant to build an application, take the features within the specifications that are relevant to make this application work, and try to translate what, let's say, the experts on the standards had in mind into what developers need in order to implement these applications. And for doing this, and that's little bit why we are here. We decided to establish a software development community, which is called the 5G-MAG reference tools, in which we implement, let's say, standards coming from 3GPP, from MPEG we have something else, also in collaboration with, for instance, -IF, IETF, and so on. So we have reference implementations of, let's say, software libraries developed by these different organizations that can be put together into developing an application. It can be more end-user based, or it can be an end-to-end system. And in order to do this, we put in place this open source or software community. Technologies and enablers, right? So in order to realize these different applications or application domains in terms of multimedia apps that we have checked, we are, well, first stage is to explore what exists in the standards that is applicable to that application, right? So it's not just pushing technology like use this, it's more like what do I really need and where to find it. And for this, well, we work on different work items. We explore the status of the technology in terms of, for instance, release 18, what's supported, what's not, and what's missing, right? If there is a gap, then how can we accelerate that the gap is closed and that we can use technology. There are systems more dependent on, let's say, 3GPP standards. There may be other technologies coming, for instance, on network capability exposure APIs from Camara or other frameworks, right? So the idea is to integrate all of this, focused on delivering a product, focused on delivering a service or an application. 5G-MAG reference tools is an open community of developers where we provide reference implementations of all these tools, of all these technology enablers for people to validate the specs, and that gives feedback already to, for instance, 3GPP on missing gaps or requests for new features. Demoing the tools, right? Demoing the technology, create awareness that this technology exists and this technology can solve a problem, and, well, try to also create products out of this, right? Which is, I would say, the final target. One important aspect, I will cover it briefly later, is, as I said, feedback to SDOs, right? While developing, so if we can get 3GPP specs in an early stage in terms of even within the release, take the specs, generate reference implementations, see how it works in a real environment, and then provide feedback to 3GPP, well, that's what we are doing. It's working quite well. To give you an idea, we have submitted, I think, 78 change requests to 3GPP based on the findings while implementing these specs, right? So we help the standardization process in that sense. Just to say that the development community is open, so there's no need to be 5G-MAG member to participate or to contribute code. 5G-MAG members sponsor the program and define the priorities. I will speak a little bit also about the license model. Reference implementations, right? So as I said, we have some technologies, for instance, coming from 3GPP. We need reference implementations in order to put them into products. This is just an example. There's a demo upstairs on 5G downlink media streaming. So this is a specification coming from 3GPP SA4, and what it enables is to manage the 5G core in a way of, okay, I need to deliver traffic, media traffic, uplink, downlink. I am in a situation that I need to do an uplink stream, or I need a teleconference, or I want to provide some quality or some enhancement in the quality of experience for streaming apps. Well, we have set up this framework. We started developing different boxes here, right? So 5G-MS application function, application server, the way to communicate with the 5G core, to implement templates in terms of dynamic quality of service policies, then on the client, the ability to collect reports on consumption, on quality of experience metrics, also to obtain network assistance, right? So like predicting, I mean, if I'm on a road and some cars have already, let's say, fallen into a gap of coverage, well, if I can predict that, for instance, I can communicate with the network, try to replenish my buffer of the media player early enough so that from a user point of view, I would not experience a drop in terms of service, right? So these ideas that are implemented, let's say in the standard, are written there, but well, if we bring them to reality, that speaks more to operators, end users, and different entities in the value chain. These are, so the numbers you see here are converted into repositories of code. I'll speak a bit of the license in a bit. But all of these, I think there are 39 repositories available with people contributing, and these are reference implementations of specifications, right? So we are not inventing anything that deviates, let's say, from standards. We're just implementing the standards as they are. If there are gaps need to be processed, communicated to the relevant SDO, and fixed if that's appropriate. There's a demo also on 5G broadcast combined with 5G media streaming. That's a topic that was part of our work item in SA4. There's a demo upstairs. I won't consume time here. And, well, recently we have also expanded the scope a bit into not just 3GPP but MPEG. Actually, if you go to 3GPP SA4, they don't work in isolation, right? So they don't just work on 3GPP. There's media components, let's say, coming from MPEG, from Dash IF, from IETF, V3C, etc., etc. So we also provide, let's say, support in terms of, well, if companies would like to see these reference implementations, let's say, out there, we also support the work. As I said, all our software is available in our GitHub. There's a lot of work also in parallel on documentation and tutorials, right? So that people that may not even be familiar with 3GPP, we are talking about 3GPP, can, let's say, get an insight into what's developed here, how can I run the system myself, how can I build this, and how can I even integrate this into an application, right? And some applications you see, or some code, not code, but some specifications you see in 3GPP, well, in the end they translate into, for instance, an Android client, right? So what we provide is basically this reference implementation of the Android client so that the spec is not something like very strange. It's something that you can really implement and play with it. We also support the activities by means of tutorials. There are videos, right? Every time there's a contribution, we encourage people to explain what have you done, and then, of course, we promote the work of those that spend time in coding and building these applications, which I think it's more difficult than just writing a paper. So, yeah, we are very grateful for them for contributing to the community. What is this for? Well, obviously, we can raise awareness of technology that exists in SDOs by means of building demonstrators, bringing demonstrators to relevant events for the industry, in the case of multimedia topics, right? So not just staying only perhaps on the network side, but actually putting this technology into the hands of the domain application. And, as I said, let's say, not only the fun of bringing demos, but it's also providing feedback to the specification. So we have created a loop of feedback between users of the tools, developers building the tools, and the specification groups that are relevant for the standards that have been implemented. So we have regular meetings with 3GPP. We are actually an MRP, market representation partner, and we meet regularly with the relevant 3GPP groups in order to fix specs or to provide feedback, right? So there are things that are missing. There are specifications that are incomplete, or specifications even that were incomplete because there was no, let's say, traction, but now you see that somebody is interested. Well, we bring this feedback to 3GPP. Just to finish, the participation in the developer community is open. We have regular calls, actually last Friday of the month, with some insight on what the work we are doing, and yeah, anybody can participate. And just on the license, we developed a license, actually when I heard the opener interface presentation, that's the thing, right? So there are some companies, and you see some of the contributors to the tools here, that they have, let's say, heavy IPR portfolio, and they said, well, we don't have a suitable license, we will only do bug fixing, and that's not what we want, right? So what we want is to develop technology and to make technology available. So for this, we have a special license, Apache 2.0 modified, for some, let's say, front terms for commercial exploitation of the tools. But we also have repositories based on other licenses, and we accommodate, let's say, to what contributors prefer, right? So it's a mix. Depending on the repo, you may find one license or another. And that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordi.